language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting from an actual free state, no longer in California, always spelled with a K. And as per normal, what you're about to hear for the next 2 hours, roughly, give or take, consists of my opinion, and my opinion only, and those of my guests. And I have got a great guest tonight, Jersey Joe, who is the owner, chief bottle washer, and owner, and then he owns, owningly, the Reaver of Common Sense show, right here on the SHR Media Network. So come on into the saloon, relax and converse. We're still serving stiff drinks, fact, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, tradition, intent, and common sense. Imagine that. And also, we don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here in the saloon, where the speech is free, but the booze is not. I am primarily done with bipartisanship and compromise. I've been labeled anything and everything you can possibly think of: a white supremacist, a terrorist. I have my own personal FBI agent. And my reply to that is something like this. So, you know what? If loving God, my country, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, due process, malum in se versus malum prohibitum, you know, if that makes me a terrorist, so be it. I'm good with it. Because the dealio is, if we lose freedom here in the United States of America, where else do we go for freedom? And I think you already know what the answer is. We don't go very many places. Now, tonight, look at this. These are all the things right here that I have to get to tonight. And let me just give you a little bit of an overview, if I could. We're going to introduce Jersey Joe in just a moment. We're going to talk about tonight, just get out and vote. And I'm going to list for you, and we're going to discuss, along with my co-host Jersey Joe, a plethora of reasons as to why you have to get out to vote. And then I also want to go over the election show that we've got coming up. I want to go over a new individual coming to SHR Media. I want to talk about where you guys can donate, because things are still critical in the eastern states. I want to talk to Jersey Joe about how he was affected, and then we're going to get rolling on. But after I introduce Jersey Joe, I want to bring some information to you that I believe you need to hear. Now, take this in any way that you wish. But first, let me bring in the act you've known for all these years, Jersey Joe. And Jersey Joe, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How about you, BZ?
Excelente. That's Spanish for excellent, for those of you who just tuned in and didn't know. Do you like my cool Halloween-themed background?
You know what? I got pointed out the other night, and I didn't even notice it.
Oh, okay.
But you
That's
know,
so sad.
Yeah, but I'm blonde.
Okay, but it's sad because I paid $5 for that.
It's actually nice. I like it.
And listen, I'm trying to get my $5 worth out of it. All right.
Right.
Cheezo pizza. So anyway, folks, before we get going, Jersey Joe, tell us about your show, when it's on, and where it can be found, and that sort of thing.
All right, my show, of course. If you go to shrmedia.com, list everywhere it is: Facebook, Rumble, X, Twitch, YouTube. It's all over, just about on every platform there is out there. You can get it on podcast through iHeart, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple. The list goes on and on and on. And also now being rebroadcasted on KLRN Radio. The show is mostly politics, just talking. I talk about everything that's going on like everyday person does. I try not to confuse or, get into the dictionary. I use some very, very basic grunts to explain what's going on. I guess that pretty much sums it up.
Like myself, I too have communicated on many prior occasions in grunts and clicks, not unlike a porpoise or a bad pack of orcas on a 3-day drunk. And don't think that hasn't happened. I'm going to get serious here just for a moment. I spoke to Jersey Joe just before the show began, and I said I have come into some information that I'm going to post right here and let everybody know about, and it will be up to you as to whether you believe this veracity or not. Apparently, according to Gordon Chang, there may be a cybersecurity event in the offing. And to me, what lends credence to this is that I'm a big follower of Gordon Chang. He's a journalist, a lawyer. He's got his JD, I think, from Cornell. He's a commentator. He's a writer. You usually see him on everything. He's basically a professional who deals with and is a consultant regarding China. He lived there for, I think, 10, 15, or 20 years. So he knows essentially all the ins and outs of China. Now, this came from a site on X from a general named Blaine Holt. And General Holt happens to live in my area. He's retired. But his skills revolve around counterterrorism. He still has a number of, shall we say, tentacles into the intelligence world. And he has spoken on any number of occasions around here where I live, up in North Idaho. So I go to his site every once in a while because he is big into survival, prepping, and intelligence with regard to the entire globe and how everything fits in. So I saw it on his site. I saw the reference to Gordon Chang. I know Gordon Chang is a professional. I know that General Holt is a professional. And what it's saying is this. Folks, you should consider having sufficient food and water and medicine for months, he indicates. When our infrastructure goes down, it may stay down for a long time. Go below. This is an individual who says that she has 3 security sources, indicating that a 9/11 style cyber attack against America is expected by the intelligence agencies on or near Election Day. And a number of people have said that there is some kind of a black swan event potentially in the offing, in the wings, in the corners, just waiting. So I provide this information to you. You may consider who I am. I have in the past been a tinfoil conspiracy tinfoil wearing nutter. I've been told that, except that the things that I've held as a conspiracy have mostly all turned out to be true. And I've been subsequently dragged kicking and screaming into believing a lot of things that I would never even have remotely considered before. So I'm starting the show with this. You may take the information, do with it as you wish. Myself, I can tell you that I am primarily, and I have mostly primarily, been prepared for all kinds of foolishness and zaniness for quite some time. And I was speaking to Jersey Joe, and because of the area in which he lives, he likewise is fairly prepared. His gig shindig claim to fame is mostly because Jersey Joe, you have to be prepared for any number of weather events, correct?
Yes. And I'll tell you, I kind of got caught with my pants down on this last hurricane because I've been down here 2005, about there. So close to 20 years I've been down here. And we've never got hit with anything major. And this one we got hit. We got smacked hard, and I was out power for a couple days. And I'll tell you, I got my mom staying with me, whole situation there, but she's staying with me. She was able to go get us a grill and a generator. We didn't get the generator until Thursday, Friday, I think it was. So we were already without power for about a day. But since then, I've been kind of stocking up on MREs, making sure I have the water. I'm never going to get stuck in that situation again. So, but yeah, it also helps when it comes to these types of situations. I got a 250 gallon water tank outside that can help with drinking aspect that I've used for, my lawn and stuff to make it easier when I want to water the flowers. I don't have to worry about drought. I don't have to worry about water bill. Rain refills it. So yeah, I kind of, and then before, my wife's always been, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. About 6 months ago, we were talking about ordering some cases of MREs.
Right.
And we talked about it and kind of put it on the back burner. Both agreed. I was going to bring it up, but, figured you'd blow it off, me being nuts. And now she's kind of like, yeah, we're going to have to get some of that stuff and keep it in the house. So,
well, weather is a big effect in your area.
Yeah.
And all along the southern coasts and the eastern coasts, I mean, the hurricanes went into as far west as Tennessee, trashed a bunch of states. People are still attempting to dig out. And so I provide these things. I am fearful that a lot of people are thinking that this stuff can't happen to me. Well, if you will, Jersey Joe, kind of sum up what it's like to have electricity gone for, what was it gone for, 3-4 days, something like that?
We lost it Wednesday night and didn't get it back to Sunday, I think it was. Late Saturday, Sunday. There were still some people that as of, I think, Monday or Tuesday were still without power almost 2 weeks later. It's not fun, especially, thank God we were in October, because if this was July, that would have been unbearable. Florida in July, no AC. We'd have been roasting in the house. We'd all been yelling at each other.
Well, the good thing is that where you live is sufficiently inland that you didn't get directly affected by a lot of the huge waves and the flooding, that kind of thing.
Well, we had flooding, which was amazing because my area does not flood. I am far enough inland that I don't have to worry about storm surge. But I'm close enough to the coast that I get that nice cool breeze. I'm just 15, 20 minutes east of Tampa. Now, I was looking at Facebook because some people were posting. They're actually bringing in tanker trucks into 2 areas of my town because they're still flooded with about 5-6 feet of water. And they have no place to pump it, so they got tanker trucks coming in to pull the water out and take it somewhere else, divert it somewhere else. I don't know where they're going to do it because we still have flood warnings from the storm. We're still getting flood warnings.
And I'm sure that there are roughly at least 1 million people somewhere in all the various states that still don't have power. Yeah. Maybe this is a good time to do this. I'd like to remind everybody that things are still critical. And within all these various states, supplies are needed. And Jersey Joe, maybe you can weigh in on this. I have a couple of recommendations. Number 1 is not FEMA.
No.
Number 2 is not the American Red Cross. Number 3 is I recommend SamaritansPurse.org. They are already there. They are doing work. They are a Christian-oriented assistance response. I recommend them. And then I also recommend, because both of these organizations were on the ground within a very short period of time from Hurricane Helene. And the second one here is CajunNavyRelief.com, SamaritansPurse.org, and CajunNavyRelief.com. And one of the major reasons that I don't recommend sending any money to FEMA is because FEMA sends it away.
Yep. So
now FEMA says, no, we have never sent money to migrants, what I term illegal invaders. And you can see from this that in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories minimum, that's a lie. And so I don't recommend those things. I recommend those two. Now, if folks, you have your own personal or maybe more locally or community oriented organization that you would care to donate to, I would highly recommend that.
When it comes to Red Cross, if you don't mind jumping in on that one, Red Cross and just the regular or American Red Cross and Red Cross, I have not and will not give a dime to that company since 9/11. Because right after 9/11, all those donations that were pouring in, and a lot of that money was pouring in to go to the Middle East to train our enemy, the Taliban, first aid techniques.
I had forgotten about that, but I distinctly remember that article and that controversy. So thanks to you, Jersey Joe, for that. I also want to, let me go back for those of you who just may have tuned in. We're getting a little bit of a heads up, a little bit of information that there may be some kind of a cybersecurity event coming right around the time of the election. And this information was placed by a retired general in my area, and then apparently verified or at least re-X'd or retweeted by Gordon Chang, who is an expert on China, which leads me to believe that China may be one of the major suspects in this if it comes down. An individual who apparently has contacts in security sources says that right around the time of the election, there's scuttlebutt that the intelligence agencies are saying there's going to be a nationwide, not just a small or a localized cyber attack against America, which will bring everything to a standstill. Now, this is the time when I want to add this as well.
Well, before you do that, can I say something real quick, BZ?
Oh, sure. You bet. Jump in, sir.
One thing, and I'm not discrediting what's up there. I wonder how much sometimes they throw out counter information like that, just to muddy the waters when the information comes out. You understand what I mean by that?
Oh, no, I quite understand exactly what you're saying.
Like that, it goes back to when I would get my recruits coming in for EMS. I'd tell them, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and you'll do perfect in this business. And you know what? In life, hope for the best. But if you're prepared for the worst, you can handle almost any situation thrown at you. But hope for the best, and that's what I'm hoping for.
And you'll always have to realize that in terms of a Black Swan event, the Black Swan event may itself be a reaction from the information that comes out, which is why I term from the very beginning of the show, I want to make people aware of this. I am not saying that this is verified. I'm suggesting that this is another in a long series of reasons why you as an individual and a family and a community should do your very level best to make sure that you're prepared for that. And also these days, if for no other reason than some kind of a weather event.
Exactly.
So these are very important.
These weather events, and not even a weather event, you can get where something malfunctions in the electrical grid. Intentionally, unintentionally, our grid is getting old. It's old as hell.
It's very old.
Fail at any time, and then you're going to be without power for a while. No, it's not fun. I loved watching the kids around here because they're up at the park just standing there looking around like, what am I to do? What am I supposed to do? Where's my electronics? It was like a bunch of lost zombies up there.
Well, it's a hell of a commentary on where we are in terms of electricity. And the funny thing is that leftists, Democrats, etc., are mandating that we become absolutely controlled by the electric industry, that they're not even much interested in backups. And if you put all of your eggs in one particular basket and don't spread it out, then you can see, folks, how well electricity served people in a disaster, as in, well, not very much. This other thing with China was aided and abetted by the Biden administration. An individual here is indicating, the same person, by the way, who said that she had intel from various sources, said that the Biden regime allowed China into our power grid in 2021, I should say, as one of its very first official acts. Let's listen to Jen Psaki.
Right. And then we'll come to you, sir. Go ahead. Thanks, Jen. In an executive order that the president signed last week, he also suspended a Trump administration executive order that was particularly aimed at keeping foreign countries, specifically China, from interfering in the U.S. power grid. But he suspended that for 90 days in that executive order last week. Given what you said about China today, why did he do that, especially related to something so critical to our national security as the power grid?
I think the president's view on our relationship with China, I tried to do my best to convey to all of you. I'll have to check on that specific piece, and we'll circle back with you directly.
Remember that. Remember the Jen Psaki.
Right. And then we'll come to you, sir. Go ahead.
Stop. Remember the Jen Psaki classic circle back. I'll circle back. And there she is circling back. So anyway, heads up to people in the chat room. In YouTube, it looks like we have Cold Warrior. So welcome to that individual. I don't believe that I've seen you here before. And welcome to everybody else that are in all of the other chats that I sponsor right here. And speaking of which, I should tell you that my chat room is wondrous. It is fabulous. It is plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent. And that's every reason why you should go and jump, literally jump, I'm telling you folks, into my chat room. Now, a bit of programming notes. I should also like to point out that Jersey Joe and myself, along with Sackhead Sean. What's that?
I said, dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. Wait a minute. If I had a producer, I would have said something like, we're having an election night coverage show that everyone should go to. And it's going to be starting at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. 7. It's going to feature myself and the lovely Jersey Joe right there and Sackhead Sean. And it's also going to have Jeff Dunitz, who is 7. He's 7 years old.
Okay. No, 7 Eastern.
Oh, 7 Eastern. Thank you. Well, if we're starting 5 Pacific, actually it would be 8 Eastern, unless we're starting an hour earlier.
Starting because 7 o'clock is when polls are going to start closing around here.
But thank you. We'll also have a lot of social media involved in that, indicating that you know where to go and at what time. Possibly, with luck, the correct time instead of what apparently I pulled your leg about right now. So in any event, it'll be myself, Jersey Joe, Sackhead Sean, Lonnie Poindexter, Jeff Dunitz, and the folks at KLRN, and also another individual who we have recruited and who will be having a show right here on the SHR Media Network. And I want to promote right now, this is for Earl Jackson. His show is coming.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? Coming in November to SHR Media. By way of Big E Jackson, you need to check out Mission Ready Men. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man, as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson, coming this November on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
So Earl is coming to SHR, and also Earl will be reporting on the events that are occurring right down in Texas. But without a proper introduction, this next department that I do, it requires a nice introduction like this.
The bloviating Zeppelins, HeyJackass.com Chicago death toll update. Courtesy of every leftist running that city. From the mayor, police chief, and every autocrat in the 50 wards.
And as I usually do every show, I want to tell everybody, go to HeyJackass.com, HeyJackass.com, illustrating Chicago values and or the lack thereof. The city of big shoulders, Chicago, it's not my kind of town. So the newest statistics in Chicago, October to date, shot and killed 43, shot and wounded 150, total shot 193, total homicides 46. Week in progress, October the 20th to October the 26th, shot and killed 12, shot and wounded 35, total shot 47, total homicides 12. Year to date, shot and killed 458, shot and wounded only 2,131, and total shot 2,589, total homicides 517. That means, when I translate appropriately, that a person is shot every 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and a person is murdered in the city of Chicago every 13 minutes and 48 seconds.
The bloviating Zeppelins, HeyJackass.com Chicago death toll update. Courtesy of every leftist running that city. From the mayor, police chief, and every autocrat in the 50 wards.
Go ahead, Joe.
That's got to be fake news. I mean, Democrats tell us gun control will stop everything.
Oh, sure. It's working very well, which is one of the major... Wait. Jersey Joe, that comment deserves that. And that's one of the reasons that I illustrate Chicago values, is because Chicago is jam-packed full of values. Now, I told everybody that until the election, I'm going to play this continuously because we and you and me and everyone else need to hear about this.
My values have not changed. Reduce red meat specifically. Yes.
The Boston Marathon bomber. They should be able to vote.
I think we should have that conversation.
Abolish ICE.
Yeah. Would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes, I'm in favor of banning fracking. I am prepared to pass a Green New Deal.
I support a mandatory buyback program.
We're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals.
The idea that more police equals more safety, that's just wrong.
Policing, as we know, goes all the way back to slave patrols and that idea.
Yeah, you are absolutely right.
Where do you stand on defund the police?
We need to take a look at these budgets.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should.
70 to 80% tax rate.
I think that's fantastic.
Chipping now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund.
How dare we speak Merry Christmas?
Yeah, I am radical. I do believe that we need to get radical about what we are doing.
And she is a radical, and she is weak. But I want to remind everybody that she was never, ever, ever the czar. She was never the border czar, right? Because it's we know already that she was never the border czar. Well, let's find out if she was, in fact, the border czar.
Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
No. Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
Quote unquote borders.
So, as we all know, that was a lie. She was never the border czar. She was never appointed the border czar. And shame on people like you and me for pointing out that she was the border czar when she was never really the border czar. So maybe it's time then for another department to come up. If I had another producer, you would hear something like this.
It's time for
Happy Stories
and Good Times.
Here's a happy story. Black Lives Matter is circling the drain, going down the drain. Their global is going away. Well, since they are a massive racist and corrupt organization, it turns out Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation is running out of cash and nearing its end unless something changes dramatically. So it's good to know that your hard-earned money was spent on an organization that is not only racist, but massively corrupt as well. Continuing.
How many?
The good news.
Did that actually help?
Say that again, sir.
How many black people did Black Lives Matter actually help? Besides themselves. Besides themselves, how many black people did they actually help with the Black Lives movement?
Okay, I'm looking at the audience. Okay, I'm looking for hands. Hands. Do I see any hands? What a shock. I don't see any hands. How sad. Here's something that's also another happy story. Why are some black voters backing Trump? This is wrong on its face. Absolutely wrong. Well, what are we going to hear?
First female president remains locked in a fierce battle with the first former president to be found liable for sexually abusing a woman. The crucial fault line of this election has come into sharp relief. It is about gender. Now, Democrats have been losing ground among a key voting bloc, men of color, particularly black men, for years. And the polls show that erosion will likely worsen this November. It is something President Barack Obama has repeatedly called out. Earlier this month, Obama asked black men in Pittsburgh if they just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. But it is not just black men. Young white men, especially those without a college degree, overwhelmingly support Trump. And Trump has expanded his outreach to non-college educated black and Latino men as well. Yesterday, I spoke to a group of black men at Kenny's Barbershop in West Philadelphia about the issue that might decide this election.
Let's watch and listen.
Obama made remarks on the campaign trail. He was at a stop, I think at Pittsburgh, right? And he said, I think there's some brothers out there who are on the fence and they're saying it's because of this or that. But I think I'm paraphrasing here. But it's because they have a problem electing a woman as president. And they're making excuses basically for that, but that's the issue. And black women have gotten our backs for so long. They've raised us up.
I have to cough.
You know, they've helped us out, and it's time for you to show up for Kamala. And I just wonder for anybody who heard that, like what they thought of that.
Deeply offended. I was deeply offended.
Here we
and
go.
It felt like a moment where it's like, you N-words better get in line and do what we say. And it felt like him as the czar of the Democratic Party coming down to say, go get these N-words in line. And the general tone of it was disgusting. It was abhorrent. I don't respect it. I didn't like nothing about it. And Kamala, 2 days after that, is like, we love our black men. We have programs and things that we're rolling out for them. And she rolled out policy. You know,
Yeah, one of those policies just happened to include dope, as a matter of fact, because who wouldn't want dope as a good black man? That's always been a great sales thing. Here's another happy
Loan
story.
forgiveness too.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, and $20,000 for business, I think, wasn't it? I wonder if they would ever see any of that $20,000 or whether it would be dissipated and diluted completely before it even got to them by, you know, some kind of bureaucracy or something like that. Doesn't that seem awfully cynical of me, Jersey Joe?
Sort of like that 750 FEMA's offering that not many are getting it.
Yeah. Because even when you apply, when you have a tablet or a computer or something driven by electricity or the internet, which most people, of course, didn't have, even if you were sufficiently successful to get through, oftentimes you were refused.
Oh, you had to go through your insurance and prove that your insurance is denying you on everything.
Well, I'm sure that because of the number of claims, your insurance will get back to you immediately. Yeah. Swiftly to make sure that $700, $750.
Let's see. My deductible is $5,000 for a hurricane.
Say that again, please.
My hurricane deductible is $5,000 minimum.
Minimum.
It's separate from, like, let's say something happens to my house. My deductible is $1,000, but when it comes to hurricanes, I got to pay out $5,000 before my insurance will even kick in.
Is there any kind of a top end of that?
Not sure. I didn't even look that far.
Yeah.
But it's people are putting in, trying to get help with rent because they're not working. The electricity being out, lost massive amount of food loss.
Oh God, yes.
And there people are like, I'm just trying to get a little help for food. Nope, denied.
Wonderful. That's exactly what you want. And remember, because electricity works so well during a disaster, and even if you don't believe a word of what I told you at the beginning, folks, well, I would be prepared for any multiple number of events, just in case. Here's another happy story. This is a guy named Lucas Kuntz. Great day at the range today with my friend Adam Kinzinger. We got to hang out with some union workers while exercising our freedom. Always have your first aid kit handy. Shrapnel can always fly when you hit a target like today, and you've got to be ready to go. We had 4 first aid kits, so we were able to take care of the situation, and I'm glad Ryan is okay and able to continue reporting. So what happened? Apparently, they were shooting with .223 at metal targets from about 10 yards, something that, as has been discussed on many times, has said, oh, only morons do something like that.
Stay on that picture real quick. What is it? Tannerite? The stuff that explodes on impact?
Yes, it's tannerite, which luckily they didn't hit because they were such great shots at 10 yards.
But it's on that table.
Oh, it is?
Supposedly, was somebody on X were talking about it, that there was tannerite on that table, and not even a shrapnel. One of those hot ejected shells hit that. It go boom.
It would.
They aren't safe.
Yes, tannerite is fun if you're safe with it to shoot at because it kind of goes pow and pop, and it's a mini explosion, if you will. But again, if you look at that photograph, they're shooting an AR-style rifle, generally chambered in .223, at metal targets from a wacky close distance.
Yeah.
Also, look at that bench. There's a bolt-action rifle there. Usually, bolt-action rifles are in, say, minimum of 7.62 or 300, 308, something like that. And that's a ridiculously close distance for something that, as you can see, is scoped. And on top of that, we have a shotgun and we have some kind of, I believe, a semi-auto that's benched next to that. And the person who got injured was a journalist. Well, imagine my chagrin at that. They're all the happy people right there. Adam Kinzinger on the far right. And let's go to, that's their bench. This was a photo op. Because, of course, as you know, leftists love guns. And there's the journalist that was injured by who could possibly have foreseen that shrapnel coming back at that close distance could possibly hit anybody, perhaps the worst person to have.
Go back to hit. Bottom left. Bottom left.
Okay, there you go.
The white jar in the middle. Isn't that tannerite?
It sure as hell is. So as you were saying, you know, if you're going to get ricochets and you're going to get shrapnel, oh, shame on you, because this has been discussed by actual safe folks, safe shooters for quite some time. Let's go to another happy story. This guy was sharp. This was one of the sharpest dudes I've heard respond recently. I wish I knew. Oh, wait, no, it says North Carolina man. Let's listen to what this guy has to say in response of the presidential election. And as I wrote, dude, stop making sense. Stop with the logic. Stop with the truth. This guy is fabulous.
This guy just yelled in the street, Trump 2024. What makes you love Donald Trump?
If you're truly a patriotic American, how could you not love Donald Trump? If you actually are somebody that does your research and your due diligence as opposed to being pushed by somebody else's propagandist talking points, how could you hate Donald Trump? He's the most popular businessman in American history. If you wanted a movie to be popular throughout all of before 2016, who has the most cameos? I find it funny that as soon as he became a Republican, he became racist. But name me that racist that won an NAACP award. I'll wait. Didn't we have peace around the world when Trump was in office? Why are we in war right now? Oh, and for that daggone bill, y'all want to keep talking about the border? Well, y'all were okay with the administration giving $60 billion to Ukraine so they can put 1,500 at the border. Here's something else deeper for you to think about. Didn't they leave millions and millions of guns in Afghanistan unguarded and unattended and left the country? Directly after that, Xi Jinping and Putin came down and gave them legitimacy. Well, what happens after that? Oh, didn't Biden give Putin access to a gas pipeline? And then directly after that, he went to war with Ukraine. And then was it a coincidence that one of our basketball stars got locked up in Russia and we traded her for Victor Boot? So we traded the Lord of War for Brittany Griner with a whole bunch of unattended guns in Afghanistan. That's what you voted for. That's better than Trump. You need to wake up, bro.
That was one of the finest summaries of the Harris-Biden administration that I have seen in quite some time. I know politicians that aren't a quarter that smart or knowledgeable about events like that. That guy just damn rocked.
Yeah.
And here's somebody else from Pennsylvania voter who weighs in. Oh, stop. Let's turn on the volume. Go. This is, by the way, this is from the barbershop, but this is a rather pointed conversation.
About Kamala Harris.
She's a woman of color. I'm not putting her down because of that, and I'm not putting her down because she's a woman. I'm not a feminist, so I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, I don't think that she has the personality. I don't think that she has what it takes to go up against Putin and go up against these other presidents that are built for this. I don't want to be scared because my president is scared. I want my president to feel secure and manly and about it.
We brought up gender, right? Like, do you think it matters that she's a woman and people aren't comfortable having a woman in a top leadership role?
No, I don't think that, because most...
Okay, stop. This is a bunch of black chicks who say and negate that thought.
Hang on. I brought it up not too long ago with you and Sean, but let's compare leadership. Kamala Harris goes on Fox News and gets a little pushback and loses it.
Oh,
she couldn't take it. She couldn't take it. How is she going to take going up against the leader of China, Russia, Iran? How is she going to go up against their enemies and they push back and she's going to lose it and get us into a bigger war? Or we have Donald Trump, who negotiated with the Taliban. I mean, I can get the video for you if you want. Who sat there and told the Taliban, pulled out a picture of the leader of the Taliban's house and said, one American gets touched, hurt, here you go. I'm killing you.
That's a brilliant video. If I knew you were going to go there, I would have had that sucker set up.
It just popped in my head. But, that's the leader I want. He doesn't get upset, doesn't freak out, just says, you know what? One American gets hurt, I'm going to kill you.
Yep. And I know where you live. And I know your family.
So here's the war. I'm just going to take you out.
Right. Exactly. Because you want to make it personal? I think maybe I'll make it personal right back to you. Here's Project 2025. Oh, this is the Kamala Harris version, where she abolishes ICE, keeps the border open, defunds the police, violent offenders, hot and cold running violent offenders, tax cuts, gone. Banning fracking, that's a great idea. Who needs natural gas? Ending fossil fuel usage, taking guns, healthcare plans, and also all of these lovely people who are storming the United States of America because it's free. Come on in, one and all. We need you all because, well, maybe we might be interested in replacing actual Americans on down the line. Oh, wait. And remember when Kamala Harris said, Donald Trump is losing energy. He's not the energetic soul that he was. Here's Kamala Harris. She looks like she's kind of lost a little bit of energy, if you ask me.
Let's also touch base on a little bit
but I could be wrong.
No, good evening, Greenhorn. Let's touch base a little bit on banning, because they want to do away with drilling, oil drilling, all that. I want all these liberals that are against it, give up your cars, your electric cars too, your sneakers, your everything in your house, your furniture, your clothing, if you need glasses, get rid of them. Because all this stuff is made with byproducts from drilling for oil. No more certain medical products. You know where Vaseline comes from? It's a byproduct from drilling.
Anything medical.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Many things medical.
The drilling for oil just does not affect the fuel in your car. It affects every aspect of your life.
Rubber, plastic. You don't need anything rubber or plastic anymore, do you? And also in the chat room, since you acknowledged certain personnel, let me do the same thing as well, because that was a wonderful idea. SHR Media is in the chat room. Cold Warrior is there in the chat room. As you indicated, Greenhorn Trucker. Simone is in the chat room from Rumble. And who else? Oh, and Whiskey Dale. I must acknowledge Whiskey Dale because he was the one that gave me the Bobcat for the Bobcat Saloon. So again, Whiskey Dale, thank you ever so kindly for that. Let's continue with happy stories, if we may. And this is about, say, I think 16 seconds or so. So let's listen to this, if I can make sure that I have the volume up.
Some voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done.
What the fuck did she just say?
All right. So that's when I say, in terms of, hey, if I had a producer, my producer would have said, hey, word salad, right? So what she said was, there's a lot that was done, but there's more to do. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done that I haven't been done and need to be done. What a brilliant...
Tomorrow, today, future, past, present.
That's something that a brilliant statesman, only a brilliant statesman, would say.
But let's also point out, she lost CNN.
Oh, God.
And when you lose Anderson Cooper, you know that campaign is going down faster than the Titanic. I mean, they're running around the campaign room looking for icebergs. Okay, I thought that'd be funnier.
Wait a minute. If I had a producer, say that again. Titanic and icebergs.
Well, her campaign's going down faster than the Titanic, and they're running around the campaign looking for an iceberg.
But there's also and that, as we continue with happy stories. Damn it, Jim, do you know what I did? I got wrapped up in the show and I forgot to do the bottom of the hour break, but that's okay. I'll do the top of the hour break in about 12 minutes or so, because Jersey Joe is simply engaging, toothsome, fulsome, and you need to watch his show. And by the way, where would that
Every
be?
Friday, Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I believe that would be right here on shrmedia.com and SHR, the SHR Media Network. And also, you can find us on SHR, on YouTube, on Spreaker, here on Rumble, on X, on Twitch, on Facebook, Apple Podcasts, and KLRN. You want to pick up some cool swag? I have some. You can pick it up at shrmedia.com. Stuff that is branded for me, branded for Jersey Joe. And look at that. You can get a mug just like that. Your own self, and a mug, and an insulated tall thing, like whatever that was. Travel mug. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
They'll be up on SHR soon.
Cool. Very nice things. A few mentions about Kamala Harris, because they're playing and saying that Well, you don't like her because she's black, which that's an issue in and of itself, Jamaican and Indian. And you don't like her because she's a she. Let me tell you a little bit about why it is that I don't like her. She created, if you remember, a bail fund for rioters in 2020. That was not just a day or 3 or 4 hours of, quote, insurrection. That was a year of insurrection. And all those insurrectionists destroyed cities to make sure that they were pushing a political agenda. That is terrorism. And she helped them skate instead of condemning them. She supported 2 propositions in California that ended up destroying California, which made crime worse and made it a lot more difficult for law enforcement to stop crime. No cash bail. Who needs bail anyway? That was against the will of the California voters, by the way, which also put a bunch of Californians in danger. One of, I think that's maybe reason 7 out of 729,520 reasons why I left California. She was tasked with solving the border crisis. You heard about she's the border czar. No, she's not the border czar. She's the border czar. No, she's not the border czar. And she only went to the border because she was under such extreme pressure. I haven't been to the border, but I haven't been to Liechtenstein either. Yeah, that was smart. She engages in all sorts of race baiting and fear-mongering. And she is even farther left than Joe Biden. So when she tells you who she really is, believe her, because that's, in fact, who she really is. This is a little bit of a, what do we got? About 8 minutes or so. This is something that she doesn't want you, she, meaning Kamala Harris, doesn't want you to hear or see.
There are reports that say that you have the lowest approval rating of any vice president.
Well, there are polls that also say I have great approval ratings.
Others don't like Harris. How big a drag is Kamala Harris on the ticket?
She's a pretty big drag. I think she was arguably Biden's worst political decision.
They don't like her. There's lots of reasons they don't like her.
Kamala Harris's approval rating is now at 28%, which is an historic low for any modern vice president.
We're hearing it from mainstream media, one outlet after another, one leak after another. The Kamala Harris is the worst vice president ever, the worst politician ever.
We don't see.
And by the way, I should point out, she can't keep staff. She couldn't keep staff in the Senate. She couldn't keep staff in San Francisco. And she couldn't keep staff in the Attorney General's office in Sacramento, California, always spelled with a K.
The vice president. What people are saying to me, and I'm sure they're saying it to you, where is the vice president? Some White House officials are feeling that she came off looking unprepared for inevitable questions about when she might visit the southern border.
We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
Here we go.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point.
I see. I guess they edited out the Liechtenstein thing. She hasn't been to Liechtenstein. There's more on that, but there's so many other delicious places and things to emphasize. This is Trump, and this is Trump being very Trumply. And I really kind of enjoy this.
Unbelievable when I see it going. But I got to know all these people. They're very smart, very streetwise. And I would do the same thing. If I had prisons that were teeming with MS-13 and all sorts of people that they've got to take care of for the next 50 years, right? Young people, they're in jail for years, if you call them people. I don't know if you call them people. In some cases, they're not people, in my opinion, but I'm not allowed to say that because the radical left says that's a terrible thing to say. They say you have to vote against him because did you hear what he said about humanity? I've seen the humanity, and these are bad. These are animals, okay? And we have to stop it. We can't have another Lakin. We have so many people. We have so many people being hurt so bad.
By the way, this is the video that was edited down to make him sound like an absolute abject racist. This is why I'm playing it, so you can hear everything in context.
What happened in the 80s? BZ?
Say that again, Jake.
What happened in the 80s with the Cubans that were coming over?
Oh, funny you should mention that. Let me, I didn't know that you were going to ask about that, but I have personal interactions with that. Essentially what happened in 1979 to 1980 under Jimmy Carter, besides giving away the Panama Canal, boy, that was really fucking stupid. Jimmy Carter also decided that he would accept the Marielito boat lift. Well, the Marielitos were individuals under Castro's Cuba, which decided to leave the oppression of Cuba. And when they did so, then Castro in Cuba decided that this was a wonderful time that he would empty the prisons. So if you want to go to Florida, which incidentally is where you are, he sent, that was called the Marielito boat lift, and they took anything that floated, many things that sunk, in order to get over to Cuba. Well, the funny thing is, even in California, always spelled it with a K, in Sacramento, when I was working for the Sacramento Sheriff's Department, and Cubans would get booked, one of the first things we learned is lipping Cubans, because then that's how you determined whether or not they were proud of being murderers. So what you would do to lip a Cuban when you were in the jail system to identify them, because they would never tell you who they were or identify themselves, is you pull down the lower lip. And if they were responsible for a murder, then it would be tattooed inside the lower lip, and that's where you get lipping Cubans. Thank you for asking me that. I didn't know that you were going to go there, sir.
I do what I do.
You do what you do. And I should
also, that is part of the cocaine explosion that we had in the 80s, was these criminals that came over. And what do criminals do?
Crim.
Yeah, crim.
Criminals, crim.
Exactly.
Okay. Folks, if you don't realize that criminals are the crimmingest of criminals, or you should realize the 80-20 law, which is 80% of the crime is committed by about 20% of the criminals. Let us continue with Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. Take it away, Donald. You're going to be wrapping it up in just a few minutes, and I'll be going, my God damn it, Jim. I will be going to a break at the top of the hour.
They're sending their prisoners to see us. They're sending, and they're bringing them right to the border, and they're dropping them off, and we're allowing them to come in. And these are tougher than anybody we've got in the country. These are hardened criminals, and we've got hundreds.
And that's very true. I played a video Tuesday night of gang members in Chicago saying that they don't like the turf wars that are occurring because these criminal gang members are coming into Chicago, having been boated, shipped, and flown there. And now they're vying for turf. And there's more of a little shooting war brewing behind all of this. I think I have another story, and then I'm going to be able to go to a break. By the way, did I mention anything about your government lying to you? I think perhaps I have. Here's a story from Fox News. Immigrant murder convictions are tens of thousands higher than ICE's bombshell figure. A data expert says there are more than 13,400 non-citizens with murder convictions listed on ICE's national docket. But if you remember, ICE is the organization that leftists and Democrats want to abandon and get rid of. They're the people that go within the interior of the United States to pick up illegals and or those who are wanted on crimes. Without ICE, then there would be no federal push to do anything whatsoever about illegals. And of course, the federal government doesn't want the states intervening in that. The total number of immigrant non-citizens in the U.S. who have murder convictions is likely tens of thousands more than the 13,400 listed on Immigration and Custom ICE national dockets, giving the criminal records of border hoppers in their native countries. They're not baked into the data, a data expert tells Fox News Digital. I'll wrap this up in just a moment. So one of the reasons that you need to vet as many people as possible is because you can't customarily get onto the, I don't know, let's say the El Salvadorian bad guy database, because I'm sure El Salvador keeps a bad guy database. And then the federal government goes and they knock on the door and they say, can we access your database to find out which bad guys you're sending from El Salvador? And the answer is, that doesn't work. That's not how it flies. That's not how it goes. Jersey Joe, in about 30 seconds or so, would you kindly regale us another tale about your show when it is? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you have a show tomorrow night, do you, sir? Please tell us.
every Monday and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's what, 6 o'clock on the commie coast or left coast? I mean,
Yeah, on the commie coast. That's true.
Right here on shrmedia.com. It will be broadcasted live on, let's see, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, X. I'm missing one. No, that's it. Rebroadcasted on KLRN Radio.
Like this.
Exactly. Well,
all
also,
these places.
Podcasts will be uploaded where you can get from shrmedia.com. And you can get it from Speaker, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, and there is a host of about this long of a list. The show's expanding. We're getting on new stations. It seems almost every day. And it's Reaver of Common Sense right here on shrmedia.com.
I think that's absolutely wonderful. We'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Southern Sense is conservative talk with Annie, the radio chick you
Our Media Network.
Welcome back to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. I am BZ, one each. Thanks to everybody who happens to be in the chat room. Cold Warrior, Greenhorn Trucker, Sean Stroich, and anybody else. Oh, and Squatch Zone, and Whiskey Dale, and any number of individuals who are in the various chats. We are ever so happy to see you, and thank you for being here tonight. So we were talking about illegals and Kamala Harris, and I have to ask this. So this gentleman is going to talk to us about who are the traitors. And I wish I could make this bigger. I might be able to once it gets going. Who are the betrayers? Who are the traitors? Who are the Quislings? Who are the Neville Chamberlains around here in the government? Democrats, all of them. And unfortunately, altogether, too many of the of Republicans as well. So let's listen to what this guy has to say. He's on the Sean Ryan show, by the way.
I don't know if I brought up the fact when we voted on the SAVE Act, which would keep illegals from voting, and I think this is so important. I think it was only 5 Democrats voted to support it. Only 5 Democrats voted to stop illegals from voting in our election. And I think that's so telling and so important because I know you have people on all sides of the spectrum that watch the show. Explain that one to me. You guys have created and orchestrated a system that has allowed over 10 million people within 4 years to come into the country. And now your party is fighting to allow them to vote. And you call us a threat to democracy. And you have the audacity to talk about foreign intervention in elections.
That guy was absolutely nailed it. Bang on.
Just don't forget the other vote that they voted against was any illegal immigrant convicted of sexual assault would be deported immediately, and they voted against that.
Yes. Yes, exactly correct.
They're for women. They're for women.
Right, because, you know, we need to make sure that women can potentially be gang raped on their lovely way coming north to the United Snakes of America. And then once here, they can be trafficked, because who wouldn't want to do that? Who wouldn't want to be a sex worker and give up the rest of their life coming up here through trials and tribulations, being held hostage by cartels, various gangs, etc. What a lovely and delightful thing that would be to experience. Here's a gentleman who's going to tell us also about the various lies that occurred. Former Chief of Border Patrol, Aaron Heitke, he relates that he was ordered by the Biden-Harris regime to cover up the disaster at the border, and he's going to talk about that in his own words.
In San Diego, we had an exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. Prior to this administration, the San Diego sector averaged 10 to 15 SIA arrests per year. Once word was out the border was far easier to cross, San Diego went to over 100 SIAs in 2022, well over that in 2023, and even more than that registered this year. These are only the ones we caught. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border. Fentanyl is another issue. The San Diego area sees between 80 and 90% of the methamphetamine and fentanyl seizures annually for our entire country. With little enforcement at the border, these drugs were coming through in mass. During my last year in San Diego, the price for a single pill of fentanyl, for example, went from $10 to 25 cents. To make matters worse, during 2022 and 23, I had to shut down San Diego traffic checkpoints, which are critical for drug interdiction, because the resources had been diverted to the process and release mission. The large numbers also had and still have a negative impact on the San Diego community. I had to release illegal aliens by the hundreds each day into communities who could not support them. To quiet the problem, 2 flights a week were provided from San Diego to Texas. These flights simply brought aliens that would have been released in San Diego over to Texas. Each flight cost approximately $150,000. This was the administration's way to try and quiet the border-wide crisis in San Diego.
And there you go. Now, folks, tonight, Thursday night, you're on a journey with myself and Jersey Joe. And the point of this is myself and Jersey are going to be speaking about this. And then after this, I will continue regaling you with tale after tale after tale as to why it is that you shouldn't vote for Kamala Harris unless you absolutely enjoy and revel in the destruction of your nation. Wow, what fun. Vote. I'll say this about voting, and then I'll let Jersey Joe take over. I've said this many times before, and I'm going to say this every show until Tuesday, November the 5th. There will be no red wave. There will be no red tsunami. Every conservative, every Republican, every individual who actually wants to save this nation must show up to the polls, vote early, ensure that they have their opinions and their thoughts and their wishes heard by way of the polls and the ballot. Every vote counts this time around. Every vote counts. You have to vote like President Trump is down 20 points in the polls. And Jersey Joe's even picked up this as well. You got to vote like the ramp chains on Noah's Ark are starting to get pulled. And the last pair of monkeys are walking up the ramp. And you're the third monkey. And brother, it is starting to rain. That's how you got to vote. You have to vote like your very freedom and liberty depend on it. Your family's freedom and liberty. That of your kids, your grandkids, and their kids. That's on the ballot because it literally is about the future freedoms of this nation and whether we continue as a viable sovereign nation. Democrats and leftists want you to stay home. They want to convince you of one of two things. Most definitely. And the first one is, Harris is so far behind, being crushed by Trump, that your vote isn't necessary because, that's piling on. And who would ever want to pile on? That seems so unfair, so terribly unfair. Or they're going to say this: Harris is so far ahead. Ain't that cool? Your vote doesn't mean a damn thing. So there's no way that your little puny ballot is going to make any kind of a difference at all. I'm this old. My 1960s civics teacher, Mr. Helms, said this. I forgot a lot of crap, tons of crap, but for whatever reason, I remembered this from the 1960s. And Mr. Helms said, Democrats don't win races. Republicans lose them. So my emphasis is this. This election is ours to lose. We absolutely cannot, must not lose. The country and every actual American in it, our freedoms, they're all at stake. So please, please, you must not stay home. Please get out and vote. I emphasizingly, with great emphasis, every vote counts. Jersey Joe.
I'm not going to talk red wave either, red tsunami. What I want to see is a common sense wave. I want to see America get out there and vote. I want a message sent to the Democrats. Because I've heard, well, we don't want to embarrass them too bad. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do that. No. Your vote is your voice. And you want to send that message out loud and clear that we are tired of the bullshit. I'm worried about what the country... I'm 50. I know I still got some years ahead of me. But I'm on the downward slide now. I'm worried about what I'm leaving my daughter. What kind of country? She's not having the country that I was raised in, that I had the privilege to live in. I don't go out there and beat the drum of, oh, this is the most important election, yada, yada. The country's going to end if you don't get out there and vote. This is one time I am going to say, we're in trouble if we lose this vote. If Kamala gets in, when you have the president of the United States, and he just did it the other day, go out there and mandate the arrest of the Democrats' political opponent who is leading. Mandating the arrest of that gentleman. You've heard Hillary out there. And these are the talking heads for the Democrat Party. That those that don't support them need to be sent to education camps. They've called for the abolishment of the First Amendment in the name of misinformation. I'm going to give a little, and I'm not big on the dictionary. Misinformation definition is giving out information that you don't know is wrong. In other words, mistakenly giving out the wrong information. That happens. It happens. You're not intentionally. Disinformation is purposely giving out the wrong information, knowing that information's wrong. But you hear the Democrats out there banging the drum on the misinformation. Why? Because the drum of beat of hate speech and all that didn't resonate. So they're going to try the misinformation. I just came across the tweet. Keith Olbermann, who again is calling for the arrest and detainment of Elon Musk immediately. That cancel all his contracts, seize his facilities, lock him away in a military facility. He's operating on behalf of Russia. This is the rhetoric, and they'll do it. They'll lie. We all know, and we've seen how they'll lie to us. They will. Get out there. Slam that vote so bad. Rate up the Democrats' backside. I'll be nice.
Bunghole.
TP for bunghole. Make them realize that they've lost the narrative and they have to look within, that they have to revamp the party. Because I'm not going to say the Republicans are the answer for everything. But right now, yes, they are. I'm not saying evil, better, too evil. Yeah, fuck that. Republicans right now, by a landslide, are the better choice. But you're voting for the country. You're voting whether this is still going to be a constitutional republic. Because they're out there banging the drum against the Constitution, against simple things of First Amendment speech. They want to shut down freedom of press. They control a lot of the media. And don't sit there and bitch to me about billionaires funding. Yeah, Elon Musk is in there giving money. What about Mark Zuckerberg that admitted that he influenced the 2020 election?
Sure, 400 million, no problem.
George Soros just bought over 200 radio stations. 200 radio stations in the United States. And it was fast-tracked because why? Because he is a foreigner. He is not a U.S. citizen. They have no problem when George Soros interferes in our election. At least Elon Musk is a U.S. citizen. George Soros isn't. He got fast-tracked by this administration to buy those radio stations. Like how he has been buying prosecutors. Why do you think crime's up? Down ballot means just as much as the president.
Absolutely. And
you got to pay attention to who you're voting in. Because let me tell you, when they start talking, being soft on crime, Democrats, it amazes me. It amazes me. For a party that talks about saving kids to do away with guns, they want to murder as many kids, unborn kids, as they can. They're all for that, but they don't want to have death penalty or severe sentences for murderers. Think about that. What does that do to our country? That destroys the infrastructure. I don't even know if we can get back to where we were. And it really does scare me. And now there's a lot of liberals, if you pay attention to X and social media, that are calling for a national divorce. You know what? I know where I am. Florida. If you take from California, what is it? Oklahoma right above it. Go east to Georgia and down to Florida. And we succeed, or they succeed from us. It would be a Republican. And would be the third strongest country in the world. Economically, militarily. They don't want to play that game because they're going to lose. And come November, what is it, November 5th?
Yep.
I'm hoping, and I do think, well, Kamala Harris is going to go down bad. Her campaigns. People woke up to the bullshit from 2020 that they used. And they're trying to use the same tactics. And I don't think it's going to work. Oh, that's my tangent.
I I come from an area where I am not necessarily negative all the time. I am a cynic and I am sarcastic. And those are some of my finer qualities. But I always keep something in reserve just in case. By the way, I should mention that in the chat room right now, Greenhorn Trucker Sean Stroich, let's see, and SHR Media, Coldwater Warrior, thank you ever so much for showing up. Sean said that he said, bring your friends to vote. And I said, bring your friends. And he said, make it a party. Make some dino nuggets for an appetizer. And I think, well, that's a wonderful thing. He also reminded us that Joe Biden got more votes than Obama. And 2016, this is an excellent point from Sean. 2016 caught all the leftists and Democrats completely off guard. And the Phantom is in the room, by the way, lurking. The Phantom lurks. And as Sean Stroich says, I'm a realist. Me too. I am most definitely a realist. I'm going to show you an article coming up here, which continues with regard to the federal government, where we had false FBI statistics used to essentially cudgel the crap out of and censor Republicans and conservatives over crime going down. Even during the debate with Kamala Harris, David, whatever the hell he said. And Trump said, no, crime is going up. And David, the host, said, oh, no, you lie, sir. Crime is going down. Well, in fact, that was a lie, as the FBI silently updated their stats to prove crime was actually up by almost 7%. And I'm going to show you the article. You cannot trust the DOJ, the FBI, or the federal government. And here's the article that just came out. This is one of a number of articles. This one happens to be from Breitbart because I like to give him the inserts. A year ago, the FBI released a data report claiming violent crime had fallen by 2.1% in 2022 compared to 2021. All the American media magas picked it up. They celebrated and they continued to lie about it, except, shock of shock, the FBI quietly revised those statistics, admitting their initial data was incomplete and misleading. Now, Sackhead Sean has gone into great detail as to why this is. It turns out violent crime isn't down, it's up a whopping 6.6% upward from the previous claims. Well, that's just one article that makes you love your federal government. And now, because she isn't winning, it's all about just, you're a terrible person. You're Hitler. You're the Antichrist. Because like a defense attorney, when you don't have facts, you go for the personal attacks. Witness.
Nick Ayers, pictured here with President Trump and Kelly during his service. You see him in between Mike Pence and General Kelly there in that picture on the left-hand side. He posted this to X yesterday, quote, I have avoided commenting on interest staff leaks or rumors or even lies as it relates to my time at the White House. But General Kelly's comments regarding President Trump are too egregious to ignore. I was with each of them more than most, and his commentary is patently false, he writes. And Nick Ayers joins me now. Nick, welcome. Good to have you on the show. Thank you for
Good to
being
be here. Thank you, Martha.
We noticed this when it was posted yesterday. So tell me, why have you decided to speak out?
Well, I know the president personally, Martha. He is my friend. I know his heart. And this unequivocally did not happen. Full stop. John Kelly was never too shy to point out to senior staff when he differed with the president, often behind President Trump's back. So I can assure you, had those comments been made, the national media would have known, all of us would have known instantly. Moreover, he was, rarely ever alone with the president. Usually Governor Sanders, now Governor Sanders, then White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, or the staff secretary or other national security officials or myself, among many others, we were all together. So I'm saying with certainty, this did not happen. This is only being espoused because John Kelly's candidate is losing, and she's losing badly. They're desperate to change the subject from a wide open border, which has wreaked havoc in our major cities and on college campuses. It led tragically and awfully to the death of an innocent young female Georgian out in Athens, murdered by someone who walked freely across our southern border. They're desperate to change the subject from raging inflation, which is making groceries and clothes and the cost of energy.
Anyway, you see where he's going on this. And it's the standard Mark I Model 1. I'll just continue the lie because we don't have anything else. We don't have the facts with us. We don't have good things to say with us. In fact, all these people are in true panic mode. Listen to the panic, relish it. Watch as the drool forms at the lips and runs down their neck.
As important as Trump's fascism is, and is the lead story every day, his cozying up to dictators, his obsession with Hitler that has now come out, what he has said about our veterans, and what he wants to do with the military against his political adversaries, it's all.
Okay, stop. His military against his political adversaries. We just had an order issued from the DOD, which I will go into in just a moment, which is saying the Department of Defense is now authorizing U.S. soldiers on U.S. soil to utilize lethal force against U.S. citizens. So again, this is unmitigated bullshit.
Huge news. This is the future that we're looking at in the next Trump term, if there is one. But this is what voters know right now, that he is killing us. I'm talking about us women. He's killing us.
That is the rhetoric that causes people to go out and take pot shots at the president. When you go out there and call him Hitler, when you go out there and say he's killing us, when you he's killing the lesbians, he's killing the transgenders, that causes these people to figure I have to defend myself when none of that shit ever fucking happened. And sorry about that, BZ, but that pisses me off because that is a 100% outright lie, and they fucking know it, and they shouldn't have freedom of press because that is not press, that is not news, that is outright misinforming and lying. They should be held accountable for those comments.
And wouldn't you know that I have something on that from RFK Jr. Now, RFK Jr. is an interesting cat. He's a very unique cat. I frequently don't agree with him on a lot of stuff, but like a 2 or 3 trick pony, he's correct on some very important points. Listen to him as he talks about domestic military authority has now been granted to use lethal force. RFK Jr., speak, please.
Say one other thing. President Harris said today in her post, in her speech, she said that President Trump was going to turn the U.S. military against the American public and use the public to promote his agenda. How many of you think that is true? Well, what's interesting to me is that the Biden-Harris administration has done something 2 weeks ago that has never been done in American history.
Hit it.
Which is to send exactly lethal force, to send a directive to the Pentagon, changing the law to make it legal for the U.S. military to use lethal force against American citizens on American soil.
Stop for a second. Unless you're listening, unless you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on in terms of politics, this may be, Jersey Joe, fresh, new news to a lot of people who have not heard this before and didn't believe the issuance of that directive from the DOD. This may be brand new to a ton of people in America. And just when you thought that things couldn't get more worse for the American citizens, not only do they need replacement, as far as the Democrats and leftists are concerned. Well, continue, please, RFK Jr.
Technically, now it's legal, the U.S. military, under this directive, it will become legal for the U.S. military to shoot and kill Americans who engage in political protest because they disagree with policies in the White House.
Stop. We got to stop right there. That's all about politics. I'm BZ. That is Jersey Joe. We'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
After 6 years covering terror and corruption, the Unpleasant Blind Guy is making a change. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker and YouTube through SHR Media and on the Western Free Radio Network as I team up with Jeff Mitchell, host of the English Defense League radio show on blogtalkradio.com. Check show pages for airtimes. It's the Unpleasant Blind Guy.
On EDL Radio.
There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back. It's the last segment in BZ's Saloon. It is Thursday, October the 24th, the year of the Lord, 2024. I am BZ. This is Jersey Joe. And I'd like to point out something. Please subscribe to my channel here on Rumble. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give everything a thumbs up, if you will, and share everything. When you subscribe, I should care to point out, because only the proper heavy rocket fuel is used here in the saloon, but either every subscription that you get or give me on Rumble, or if you give to SHR on the YouTube, SHR Media YouTube channel, each subscription either gets me, and I get to choose, you know which one I'm going to choose. I either get the choice of a porcelain Dalmatian or more vodka. Okay, so your mileage may vary. Remember, FDIC batteries not included. Jersey Joe, welcome back. And I also, oh, damn it, Jim. I also forgot this because, hello, producer.
Folks, this is BZ's final hour. Step up. Last call for alcohol.
Thank you, announcer. Greatly appreciated. We were listening to RFK Jr. talk about, oh, it's time for American soldiers to shoot Americans. Let us continue.
I'm not making this up. Any of you can look it up. This is a Democratic initiative. This did not come during the Trump administration. This did not come from Donald Trump. It came from the Democratic Party. And that's why I left the Democratic Party.
And that's one of a number of reasons why he did.
Yep.
So the true tyrants, the true leftists, the true Marxists, the true oppressors are the Democrats doing the will of globalists and various leftists all across, as Rush Limbaugh used to say, all across the fruited plain. Oh my God. Do we miss Rush Limbaugh? Do I miss Rush Limbaugh? Now we're going to go into another situation. I don't know if you've had any experience with this, Jersey Joe, but a story came out, and you might even talk about it tomorrow. But I found this particularly heinous because it is all about politics, completely about politics. There was a study that was completed to the tune of millions of dollars, $10 million to be precise. And so a doctor had this study for quite a number of years, and the results were not in keeping, they were not in cohesive keeping with what she believed she wanted. So scientific doctors, this doctor, are not scientists. The scientific method is, I have a theory, and we will explore this theory, and we will wait to see if the information that I have is supportive of my theory. That's how you experiment in science. That's how things change. Science changes. Medicine changes. Doctors practice. Attorneys practice. So a woke doctor refused to publish a study that cost this amount of money, that said, its conclusion was, because she wasn't really interested in, well, let's just let the thing go where it goes. Okay. Well, it went where it went, and it wasn't politically correct as far as she was concerned, because it showed that puberty blockers did not help mental health. So Dr. Johanna Olson Kennedy told the New York Times that she believes the study would be weaponized by critics of transgender care for kids, and the research could one day be used in court to argue we shouldn't use blockers. Well, that's exactly what it's for. That's the reason. Now, critics said the decision flies in the face of obvious research standards, the scientific method, which I was taught as a kid in junior high school, for Christ's sake, and deprives the public of really important science in a field where Americans remain firmly divided. So I know, let's pay a shit ton of money for an experiment. Let's let the study roll. And then because it doesn't yield the conclusions that one particular leftist doctor doesn't like, she's not going to release the study, Jersey Joe. Hey, that's the right thing to do, don't you think?
All in the name of science. Let's not release the study. You know they're in the wrong when they pull shit like that. When they pull, we're not going to release the study because it's going to be used against you. Yeah, because something in that study is telling you it ain't right. I always love how I hear we have to be like Europe, except when it comes to, these puberty blockers, trans surgeries, and abortion. Then we're not like Europe. No, we can't be like Europe. The science is saying this is not good for kids. Listen, if you're over 18 and you want to cut your pecker off,
have at it.
Yeah, have at it. Go ahead. You want to live as a woman? Go ahead. Don't expect me to jump in on it. But if you want to do it, go right ahead. That's your prerogative. But you're fucking with kids. And I'm sorry, I know I'm getting a little aggravated tonight. It's just some of this shit is so common sense.
I was aggravated all day.
And I love that idiot that jumped in our chat and tried throwing some disinformation and running his mouth and then ran out when he found out nobody was going to take his shit. But it's typical DNC trolls. And you know how desperate, sorry for jumping the subject a little bit, BZ.
That's all right.
You know how desperate the Democrats are. Listen, our shows are good, and I know they are. I know they have some popularity, but we're not as big as some of, Tucker Carlson, all that. All right. but they're coming after our shows. They're jumping in our chats. They're jumping in our Twitter feeds. That's how desperate they are. They know they're losing the message, and they're just lashing out at anybody that speaks out now. And they try, but whether they're paid or volunteer, I don't know. They're not that smart at their jobs, and even if they're not getting paid, they're getting overpaid. But this study, it proves that the science that they talk about isn't science. It's what the money pays them to do, and that's the result. And if you don't like the result, throw the result out.
Well, the other people that were in chat that I'm not going to refer to, but I will reference them in terms of, well, they're leftists and they're obvious. And their whole shindig is never let facts get in the way of a good ignorant emo argument, because all they have are emotions. They don't believe in facts. They don't believe in science. They don't believe in medicine. And they've done their very level best to make sure that the rest of normal people, not them because they're not normal, the rest of normal people have now been dissuaded from believing in science, which is corrupted, and medicine, which is corrupted by prophets. So what you have here is you have what I have called for some time the chemical, mental, and physical butchery of children for profit, period, in the pedo-industrial complex, and for doctors embiggening and enriching their wallets, and for hospitals who do this, I should believe, illegal stuff, refuse to let kids be kids, and they're going to say something similar to, well, you know, I want all my fingernails pulled off because I saw a monster movie one time and the monster had no fingernails. And I, as a 10-year-old, I don't want to have fingernails too. So pull them off and I might make a different decision on a different day. That's really smart.
My daughter, when she was younger, wanted to be a pirate. Should I have taken in for surgery and chopped her leg off and taken an eye out?
Leg gone, eye gone.
But you got to get the hook, you know.
Sure. And it would have cost you a little bit extra money too, because then you would have had the parrot. Then you would have had to train the parrot. Then you would have had to have a separate bedroom for the parrot because they throw their food everywhere. They throw their poop just like a bad chimpanzee. I know I had a girlfriend who had a parrot at one time. They're not nice. They're not nice.
Kids are going to go for the newish, shiny thing.
Sure.
There's a school, I think it's out in California, actually, where every kid in the 5th grade in this one class is trans, which I call bullshit on. Yes. It happened with my daughter in high school. There was after school LGBT, ABC, whatever the alphabet is on it. And they were trying to talk my daughter into joining, and she's going, I'm not a lesbian. What? How do you know you're not a lesbian? She's like, okay. You could be a lesbian. She's like, maybe. Let me think about it. And she comes home and she's like, well, you don't know if I'm a lesbian or not. I'm like, holy fuck, are they fucking with her head? So I was like, okay, let's ask some basic questions. Do you get turned on by women? She's like, no. It's like, all right. I said, now I want to answer. Are you interested in boys? And she's, the normal thing. Yeah. I was it's simple. I'm not saying you're going to go out and bang a guy. And yes, I do talk to my daughter like that. I'm very open. I'm what you see here is what happens behind the camera, everything. I'm a smart ass. I bust my wife's balls. She busts mine. In fact, people think we're arguing all the time, and we're not. We're busting each other's chops and having fun. My daughter is a smart ass. But anyway, I asked her, and she's like, well, yeah, I like boys. I was like, you're not a fucking lesbian. But they were fucking with her head trying to get her to join, and they could have had her thinking that she was something that she was not, and they do it all the time. It's the new and improved, shiny little dangle thing that we're going to dangle in front of you. Look, you too can be inclusive with the LBGT. Listen, if you're gay, you're gay. If you're lesbian, you're lesbian. Great. Have fun. I'm pretty sure there's some stuff I've done in the bedroom that people don't agree with. Who gives a shit? It's my life. I do it in the bedroom. I don't expect you. I don't expect you. I don't expect anybody to agree with how I live my life. I'm not breaking any laws. I'm not hurting anybody. And it's between two consensual adults. But when you start involving the kids and fuck with the kids' heads, you're going to create issues. It's sort of like the all these the drugs they get for Adderall and ADD. My brother, now this is going back to the 70s. My middle brother was a pain in the ass, especially in school. And the school was trying to mandate it that he had to be put on all these drugs. My mom took to the doctors, and the doctor said, you do that, and he'll fucking kill himself. We don't know what these drugs are going to do 10, 20 years from now, what it's going to cause them to do. These are psychedelic or psychological drugs that are fucking with their heads, and the kids going through puberty, you don't want to do that to your son. And we're doing that too much, and it's just... These studies, they know are wrong. They know it's wrong, but it gets them a few votes, and they're sacrificing how many millions of votes for a few votes?
Simone in chat, by the way, in the Rumble chat, made something, an observation that is very salient, and I should have emphasized, and that's that this massive study, this, let's see, here we go, the $10 million, those were tax dollars. That wasn't contributed from some corporation or some science company who decided that they wanted to fund a study. No, those were tax dollars from you and for me. And that's how they came. By the way, also in chat, I'm finally getting to it. Sean, welcome to chat. I'm glad you're here. Dayanara Briones is in chat. She's been very quiet. So she's very coy, very demure. The Phantom is in chat. Greenhorn Trucker says, by the way, if you like and subscribe and share, smash it. We'd appreciate it. Sean, Whiskey Dale, Squatch Zone. That dude is going to be in the house, in my house, here in this studio, starting next Sunday. He's coming for 2 weeks, a 2-week vacation, and we're going to denigrate the hell out of PG&E because after about 2 or 3 weeks, almost a month, he still doesn't have power. Anyway, Squatch Zone. And the guy whose name I will not mention here, who says crime is down, liars.
He left finally.
I know.
Oh, but he made the biggest observation. We're 2 old white guys.
Yeah. Right.
Wow. Why does everything have to be race and sex with them?
Because everything has to be race and sex with them. Because that's all they have. They don't have facts. They don't have thoughts. These are people think that men can be women and women can be men and don't believe in XX and XY. So, yeah. Oh, and Jeremy Hansen. Welcome to Jeremy Hansen, who is in chat. Thank you for being here. You know, slap me silly for not acknowledging. And also, I just saw Rick No One Robinson is in the chat and says, what's up? So what's up to Rick? I have an organization that I would like to chat about just for a moment. So if you want to hear some real truth and some actual facts instead of all this pedo crap, an actual good organization that you may consult from one time or another is acpeds.org. And they're the American College of Pediatricians, enabling all children to reach their optimal physical and emotional well-being. And you might want to take a look at this site, Doctors Protecting Children, recommending biological integrity. An interesting place to go if you want something like, facts. How sad. Facts. Who needs facts? And then there was this. Okay, I got about 12 minutes before the wrap up, the slap up wrap up to the show.
I'm not good at rap.
All right. That's as good as it gets. So a UN report into violence against women and girls, its causes and consequence. Do you sense a theme here? I'm moving from one article to another, and they may possibly be linked. Later on, alcohol may be involved, but you'll hear about it at the end of the show. A UN report into violence into women and girls, its causes and consequence, found that up to March 30th of 2024, you want some facts and some stats, leftists? How about this? Over 600 female athletes in more than 400 competitions have lost more than 890 medals in 29 different sports. Facts. So here's what's going on. Males, as little tranny units, desire, what they want is the recognition and the valor and the money that goes associated with that they otherwise could not have wangled for themselves, and they could not have acquired for themselves because they are underperformers as athletes. Now, if you go into another locker room, if you go into the women's locker room and proclaim that suddenly, magically, mystically, bing, you're a woman, now you can compete. Now you can kick their butts. Now you can possibly hurt them. Now you can possibly injure them, knock them unconscious, as has already happened before. So let's look at this particular study. I hate to do this. I hate to put it here because this place is so rife with ads and crap, and they won't let you go there unless you love their ads in crap. The replacement of the female sports category with a mixed up category, a sex category, has resulted in an increasing number of female athletes losing opportunities, including medals, when competing against males. Now, who possibly could not see that developing? I know. Bueller, leftists and Democrats. And so they have lost out on all sorts of medals, and young girls and women, having worked their entire lives up to that point in order to compete against other girls and women, have males come in and shatter all their goals. Because, hey, why not? Why shouldn't you? You know, I will never buy into the shindig that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man. Because unfortunately, or fortunately, we deal with facts. Jersey Joe, any thoughts, complaints, opinions, any waffles?
What I was just sitting here thinking, have you noticed you don't hear about climate change as much anymore? Now it's the trans. And it's the same thing with climate change. The science wasn't behind it. I know it's still there, but it's not as prevalent as it used to be. It's the same thing. The science isn't behind all this. And I love seeing these college girls and professionals that are standing up and refusing and forfeiting games because they're saying we're not going to be put in this situation to get hurt.
Oh, where is this? Give me this. That is so true. They're finally standing up for themselves, and none of this crap will change until girls and women and coaches stand up to it and say, that's it, we're done. You want to play, you're going to play with yourself and by yourself, so to speak. See the double entendre it did there.
I mean, we're for women. We're the party of women. We're the party of women. Now let's get a bunch of men in there and beat the women. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, what the fuck are these idiots thinking? I don't know, because here's the thing I don't like about colleges and stuff. Somebody gets a piece of paper that say they went to school and they're smart. They immediately think they're smarter than everybody else. Listen, college has its place. I'm not going to deny that. But having a piece of paper that you paid $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for doesn't say you're smart to me. You know, it's life experience out there doing the work. I've worked with a lot of EMTs that went through all the schooling of this and that, and they scored hundreds on everything. I wouldn't trust them to work on my goddamn dog. It's the ones that put the time in, that busted their ass and learned the craft. Those are the ones I trust. And it's going to this. It's just, there's too much. They think they know better, and they do all these studies and this and that, and they get a bunch of think tanks, and it don't mean shit in real life. It looks great on paper. Real life doesn't work, and that's what's going on with this stuff. I'm tired of it. Live your life. Have fun. And one of the best things, I used to be a bar rat. I'll admit it. I used to spend working EMS. That's what you did. You're off nights. You're in a bar drinking. And, and I was sitting there, and there was a guy that happened to be gay, and we would talk all the time. You know, he would hit on me jokingly. He knew I was straight, but we would joke back and forth. I didn't mind. He knew I was going home to my wife, but we would make jokes. And he goes, one thing I'm tired of is these groups that are out there. They're screaming that they don't want people telling them how to live their lives. And what are they doing? They're trying to force their lifestyle on everybody else and then get mad when people fight back. It's exactly what they're doing to us. We're doing to them. He goes, listen, I don't want it in the news. I want to live my life. I don't need big parades. I don't need any of that. I just want to live my life the way I want. And why can't we go to that? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
As you've been talking, I've been looking at chat. And I apologize because I should be watching chat more frequently. I've got 2 chats. I've got one going on in Rumble over here, and I've got the other one right next to StreamYard. And the source for that is YouTube. And trying to run the show and make sure that I'm listening to what I'm saying and Jersey Joe is saying in the articles, etc. That's kind of taxing for my little fetid knurled brain. And so when I get a break, I like to look at chat and say again, thanks to everybody being in chat. Thanks to Greenhorn Truckers. Thanks to Sean. Sean Stroich made a couple of interesting comments in chat. He said trans have a higher suicide rate than Jews in World War II Germany. That was rather astounding. And Greenhorn Trucker said he was going to boot that guy that was here.
He was going to boot me when I got talking about me in the bedroom.
Oh, and Sean may not be wrapped around your little finger. He said, I'm guessing that you're a little too hairy for me, Jersey Joe, Reaver of Common Sense.
That's what my wife says. She wants me to shave my head again and shave the goatee.
Who does?
My wife. Oh, she hates my hair. She hates my long hair.
Really? Why? Okay, that's a new topic. That's a new article. Because I think I've only got time for one. Well, I don't actually have
my
any.
wife likes, clean shaven, short hair, bald. That's what she likes. And since I'm not working EMS fire anymore, I don't need to keep my head nice.
She doesn't like bad boys, huh?
No.
Well, because, after all, what are you going to do when they come for you?
I don't know.
With long hair, everybody knows that bearded, long-haired, obese, ancient reprobates like myself have no value to society, and we just should be cast aside. I was told that any number of times.
I think that's what in the chat was trying to go to, because you're angry, 2 old white guys.
Well, okay.
Thanks for pointing out the obvious.
Guilty. I represent that. These people are insane.
Yeah.
By the way, when I get it back, I am going to have I have all these other little departments that I go to, like Happy Stories, and I'm going to have another one called Leftists Are in Fact Dangerously Insane. So when I get the voiceover for that, that's going to be a new program, a new department that I'm going to feature, because it's a target-rich environment with stupid idiot leftists. Don't you think? I believe so.
The other one I loved was on Twitter, or X, excuse me. Someone was going after me and Sean, and the guy went after Sean because you're bald.
Well, that guy's a racist, because look at all the NBA players that are bald and shave their heads. So from me to whoever that guy was, you damn racist, you just outed yourselves, because as we all know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't forget everybody in chat. I want to appreciate everybody, the lovers and the haters. I'd say on my show, whether you love me, hate me, want me to get a raise or get fired, leave comments. I don't mind.
Who was it that said, it might have been Einstein, as far as I know, who said, all publicity is good publicity. So I guess we're being public. So thanks for everybody for being in chat. Thanks to Rick, who is new here. And from KLRN, I appreciate you listening and or watching. Maybe you're balancing your checkbook or trying to clean the dead fish out of your fish tank, whatever it is. I really appreciate your being here. Greenhorn Trucker said, if you're a quiet watcher and don't want to chat, please like and subscribe to the show. And I say that's true. Please like me. I need to be liked. I need to be loved. Well, yes, that's right. There is no paywall. There's no paywall here.
And it feeds the algorithm monster.
That's right. And numbers, baby. Can we have some numbers? Can you give me alms for the pool? Alms for the pool. So Jersey Joe, one final thing. You got a show tomorrow, mister. So I want to hear you tell everybody about your coming show tomorrow. Go.
9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, Eastern Standard Time. That'll be 9 o'clock p.m. and 6 o'clock. Pacific Coast. Let's see. SHR Media.
Yep.
Rumble.
Yep.
YouTube.
Yep.
X.
Yep.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Twitch.
Yeah, I think we're on Facebook. I think we're on all these places.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, Facebook is in there. Look at that.
Right there.
Spreaker, YouTube.
I can't tell you.
KLRN Radio.
KLRN Radio. That is 10 o'clock. They do a rebroadcast of my show.
They don't love me.
I don't know what it's going to be about. Jump on, find out. But it'll be politics. I can tell you that. It'll be current events of what's going on.
And so thank you ever so kindly from me and everybody here, the cast of thousands behind my massive 49-inch Samsung monitor right here, and also to the dog in the dog bed just below the desk right here, who's been so quiet all night. And I was going to have dog cam, but I need a camera for that. And I'm going to have to go out and buy one because I want to have action dog cam under the desk. So thank you ever so kindly, Jersey Joe, for being here.
I'm going to go outside, go out of the room, and I'm going to get attacked by my 2 puppies.
Oh, cool. We have 4 now. Brand new two puppies. This is the older one that's under the desk right here. It's like, shh, she's very quiet. So thanks, Jersey Joe. I appreciate your being here. Folks, I'm BZ. I believe that fortunately or unfortunately, you've had enough of me and it's time to wrap things up. And with that, I say something similar to... Sing along now, if you would, please. We'll meet again. Don't know where. Don't know when. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on Rumble, YouTube, shrmedia.com, and the YouTube channel, and KLRN. And I'm leaving. We're going Power a Go-Go. And I want to always give credit to promotional consideration by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. They pay me millions of dollars to say that. Also by Shure and Electro Voice microphones. Here's the board I use, the Arrakis. And also very important, Pratt and Whitney engines producing thrust you can trust. And I want to emphasize, as per normal, as I said earlier, alcohol may be involved. I say thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than about 10 minutes or so. And as I am wont to say, you go through that door and you go about 25 or 30 feet that way, and hey, I know where the bottle lives. So, everybody, thanks for being here, listening live, being in the podcast, in the rebroadcast, live. God bless everybody. Take care and be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep. Good night, everybody. Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.